Thank you. B'shut Harabanim and Posted B'chrodach Shachsanya. I want to thank Rav Masri bringing me in, give me this opportunity. It's when I just heard the name of the Beit Knesset is Beit Rambam. That struck a chord with me. Because as the Rav pointed out, my two spiritual fathers, Rav Yaakov Weinberg and Rav Moshe Shapira, they looked at Kol Torah Kula Bas Baklariat Rambam. That was like their frame of reference, because the Rambam had a very systematic approach to Kol Torah Kula, and even in Yonei Kabbalah, they did Bas Baklariat Rambam, used as the mivneh, right, the filing cabinet. It was all Bas Baklariat Rambam, so it means a lot to me to be here in Beit Rambam. And if I may say, one of the Sfarim I wrote, the original Evan Shetiyah, is on the Yud Gimel Ikarim of the Rambam. So it's very special for me to be here. I have to say, I'm embarrassed to be sitting right next to the Rosh Kolo, and I'll tell you why. Because he saw me in Saba Grills, it called, together with Yaakov, right? Right. Yaakov took me there, fed me well, and here he sees me eating again, right? Right. Yeah. Right, but it looks so good. This is the best Lil Shisha I've ever been at. It's like I'm a Bachur again. Right? That's, a man, you have to, we all like, we are Shoef Adam Le'elyon. V'lachta b'drachav. The time that you're most godlike is when you're Bachur, because your appetite is Ein Sof. And so it's like I'm a young man here again. Anyways, without further ado, you'll forgive me, I was a stream shtayim shana ba'aretz. הלכתי ללמוד אצל משה שפירא, אז אני רואה ישראלים, אני מדי פעם אני אתפרץ לעברית. לא יכול.
But not everybody speaks Hebrew.
Okay, so that's why I'm going to try to control myself. אני מתפרץ לעברית, תחזירו אותי לתלם, כן?
What did he say?
Right. So the topic for tonight's, drasha, it's going to be the theme for the whole Shabbos, because, already, at the very beginning of next week is Chanukah, and as we'll show throughout the weekend, the Remazim to Chanukah, Remazim Modavim, very obvious allusions to Chanukah in Parshas Vayeshev, right? And, that's going to be a theme we're going to go through on Bekama Vekama Ofanim in course of the weekend. But just to start off, the theme of tonight is how it's the fuel that's going to get us Ad Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Meir B'Yameinu. Right, that has to be true. For a simple reason, it's the very last Nes in our history. A short 200 years later, go into this long and bitter Galut that we're in right now, Galut Edom. The whole Nes, the whole Cherut that we had from the Yevanim lasted a whole 200 years. Not such a long time. So Chanukah is more a hachana for Acharit Hayamim than it was L'Sha'ato. Right? L'Sha'ato, it was 200 years, the whole thing. Right? So now to understand a little bit, before we go a little bit more bifrat through the Parsha of the Shavua. The Gemara says, Lamnatzech Aliyela Tashachar. Right, Ayel Tashachar is referring to the Nes of Purim. Ma Ayel Tashachar Sof Halayla, Af Esther Sof Kolanisim. Right, last Nes. So the Gemara asks, Va'ika Chanukah. It wasn't the last Nes, because after the Nes of Purim happened in Galut Bavel, before Binyan Bayit Sheni. Nes Chanukah happened during Bayit Sheni. So it says, Sof Nisim Shenitnu Likatev. Right? The last of the Nisim that could be written in Tanakh. Megillat Esther is part of Tanakh. Right? The Nes of Chanukah happens after there are no more Nevi'im. Right? So there couldn't be a Megillat Chanukah because it has to be written Baruch HaKodesh. Right? There's no more Nevi'im. So indeed, Purim was an end of an era, that there was a nest of Bizmana Nevi'im, and also became another chelik, another sefer in Tanakh. Chanukah is special in a certain way, that it's for this period that, like we're in now, that en Navi, right? There's total Hester Panim, and that's why the Ikar mitzvah, B'derech Klal, the Ikar mitzvah of a Chag is Bayom, B'derech Klal. Right? And also halacha l'maaseh. if Purim, we read the Megillah by night and by day. What happens if Chas v'Chalila, you can only hear it once? You have to choose, night or day. So the poskim say. Tosfos says, I'll call upon him. I don't tell you. You have a Maradatra. I'm just saying, the poskim, the poskim say, if you have to choose one, take the day. The day is always Ikar, right? So if it has to be one or the other, take the day. It really should be twice, right? Right? But Chanukah, the Ikar mitzvah hayom is balayla, b'choshech. Right? Because it's for us, la'ir et ha'choshech. Gemara says in Sanhedrin on the Pasuk, B'machashakim hoshivani kimetei olam. Hashem put me in the dark like those dead to the world. Says the Gemara, Zeh Talmuda shel Bavel. It's the Talmud Bavli. Right? That means, that the Talmud Bavli, all this pilpul, right? And sometimes the Gemara goes, after 2 dapim, Ela mecharvar to kidushanina miikar. You know what? It was the best what we said 2 dapim ago, right? Because the Gemara was written in Bavel, in Omek HaGalut, as a countermeasure. We know we're in Choshech. That's Machashaki Moshivani. And we have to double check with all the pilpul to make sure we're right. We have to double check, triple check, right? So even if we got it right the first time, we can't be confident. So we have to go through the whole Shakavataria, sometimes just to go full circle, right? So the Ner Chanukah is at night, La'ir Tachoshech, the Talmud Bavli is written Al Zeh Derech. And now here's another thing, the whole idea of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Moshe Rabbeinu says he was in Shamayim, Arba'im Yom V'Arba'im Laila. How do you know? He was in heaven. So he didn't see sunrise, sunset. How do you know? I know. So the Medrash says that, he counted how many times Hashem switched. Teach him Torah Shebechtav, Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Shebechtav, Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Shebechtav, Torah Sheba'al Peh. They counted that it alternated 40 times. Because we don't learn Torah Shebechtav at night. Night is time of Torah Sheba'al Peh, because it's the Midah Keneged, it's to light up the darkness. Anyone ever do a Chanukah Habayit? Chanukah Habayit, ever do a... Yeah. It's a Surat Mitzvah, right? Really, if you didn't do it, I'm sure you could still do it if you bought your house 20 years ago, right? Just, Icarus has to be food, right? It's a Surat Mitzvah. Right? And don't forget to invite me. The Chidah in his, he wrote like a book to say at your Chanukah Habayit. It's a book, right? So the only way to do it is to divide it up. Everyone, you take 10 pages, you take 10 pages. That's what you did, right?
That's what we all did. That's
right. So he writes in the Hakdama over there, so very interesting, that even though it's a book, on everything is buy it. Anything your time you see buy it mentioned in Mishnayot and in Rambam, everything. So, but since most people do their Chanukah Habayit at night, there's no Torah Shebechtav in there. It's all Torah Sheba'al Peh. Because it's most people do their Chanukah Habayit at night. They're at work during the day. Night is the time of Torah Sheba'al Peh. And Chanukah is a Chag of Torah Sheba'al Peh. It's not in the Tanakh. It's a Chag Kula of Torah Sheba'al Peh. The Chagim of Torah Shebechtav ended with Purim. It's cool, it's cool. And that's with this, you understand something very interesting. It's probably obvious to most people. You guys are Bet Rambam, so you probably learn a lot of Rambam, right? So the Rambam in Hilchot Chanukah, first 2 halachot, he tells you the story. He tells you the story of Chanukah, what happened. B'kitzur nimratz, but still. He doesn't do that in Hilchot Megillah. He just opens Kriyat Megillah Bizman and Mitzvah Divrei Sofrim. He doesn't do that in Hilchot Chametzu Matzah. About a little taktzir, a little summary of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. He doesn't tell you in Hilchot Sukkah that Zechel Anei Kavod. Right? He just does this by Hilchot Chanukah. Why? Because he writes in his Hakdama, the Hakdama of Mishnah Torah, you need 2 books. I'm writing this book, so you only need 2 books. You need a Tanakh, and you need my book. Your Koreh b'Torah Shebechtav, and then your Koreh for my book, and you know the whole Torah Sheba'al Peh. So all the other Chagim, they're in the Tanakh. The Rambam expects you to learn Tanakh. Chanukah's not in the Tanakh. That's why the Rambam had to tell you the story. So there's no question that Chanukah was, was the nest that is prepared us for this long and dark galut. It's a chag of Torah Sheba'al Peh Torah Zman where there's no more Nevi'im, so Torah Shebechtav is not expanding anymore. This Pach Hashemen, it didn't just burn for 8 days. It's burning Ad Hayom Hazeh. But, to get a little bit more particular, and we'll do this in Kamo Fadim, let's go to this week's Parsha. Vayeshev Yaakov, says Rashi, Achar shkatav chal yeshuvei Esau Torah b'derech k'tzara, the end of last week's Parsha. It's got Vayimloch Vayamot, Shelo hayu tzfunim v'chashuvim lefaresh ech nityashu se'roteh v'echorishot hachori. Right? They're not such important people. So so the Torah spoke about Bekitzur Nimratz. He gave birth to him, right? And got it over with in the quickest possible way. Pirshla Yeshuvei Yaakov Tolav B'derech Arukah Kol Gigulei Sibatam L'fi Shem Chashuvim B'fnei HaMakom La'arich Bahem. Right? So now over here we're going to talk about the whole story of Yaakov, Yosef's brothers. A story that just spans a whole of 22 years. So many parshiot, whereas last week's parsha we spoke about all these dorot that went over hundreds of years. Spoke to them in 1 or 2 aliyot. Over here, we're spending the rest of Chumash Bereshit, right, to just 22 years, because Yaakov Avinu and his children, they're all chashuv, so we want to talk about them, barichut and b'pratut, in length and in detail. Same thing, the whole Parshat Bereshit covers 1,000 years. 1,000 years of history, right? Until Noach. And then Noach, we talk, a little bit, Parshat Noach, right? Talk about for quite a while. Right? End of Parshat Noach. The Asar Dorot, Noach Avram. Just one aliyah, 1, 2 aliyot. Get the whole thing over with. It's also 1,000 years worth of history. And then Mishigia Tzal Avram Herich Bo. Okay. So now here's where it gets so far so good. Here's where it gets a little bit difficult. Mashal lemargalit shenafla ben achol. Pearl fell in the sand. Adam mimashish b'chol v'kol rekavra ad shemotze tamargalit. So a person, is sifting through the chol, through the sand, until he gets the pearl. But once he finds the pearl, he throws away the stones, and he sticks, he stays with the pearl. That's the mashal. Ein mashal domel nimshal, right? Here I'm writing a book, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is dictating this to Moshe Rabbeinu, write this and this, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't lose anything. He knows what he wants to write, right? It's domed, they have to go through a lot of chol to get to the margalit. You got to go through a lot of sand to get to the pearl. Yeah, but what did Ribon Shem lose? They has to mention all these Rishayim, right? Until he gets to the tzaddikim, gets to the pearls. You know what you want to write. So you tell Moshe Rabbeinu, write this, right? Don't write that. What's the lost pearl? What's the sifting? And there's another diuk over here. It starts, in the margalit shenafla ben achol. Adam memashmesh b'chol v'kovro. He's filling out the sand and he's sifting it. Actually, it's good. Mishematza mashtichatat tzrorot. Hey, patach b'chol v'siyem b'tzroros. Right? We talked about sand. Now we talk about pebbles. We went from chol to tzroros. Makara. Right?
You know what tzrorot are? Yeah. You went from talking about sand and you switched to talking about rocks.
Rocks. Yeah.
That's the question.
That's the
You
question.
give a parable about sand and then you switch to rocks.
That's right. Right? Why don't you find right? Cham.
Chaim tovim.
Okay. So there's one thing that we're getting at over here. There is the beginnings of a process of coming to a answer to a question that should bother any thinking person. Right? First Rashi in the Chumash, very first Rashi. What's the very first? Everyone knows that one because it's you do the first one before you give up, right? The first one everyone does, right? Right? Yeah. Go ahead. Uman Tam Patach Bereshit Bara. Right? So what does Rashi say? Because if the Umot Olam say you stole Eretz Yisrael, right? Say HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, it belongs to him. Bertzono not lahem, or Bertzono not lam mehem, v'nat lanu. That's approximately Lashon, right? So, yeah, that's we have to open up that the Rebbe Shalom is the creator. So if he created it, he owns it. He owns it. He can do whatever he wants. So he first gave it to them, right? Then because it's his, he can take away from them, and give it to us. Yafeh. Right? So it should be Bereshit Bara Shemaim v'Aretz HaChodesh Zelchem Rosh Chodeshim. Yeah, okay, great. The Kodesh who created heaven and earth, it belongs to him. And then that's why Eretz Yisrael belongs to us. What do you have to go through after that? The whole Sefer Bereshit. The whole Sefer Bereshit. If the whole point is that Kodesh is the Boreh, right? He is the creator. It belongs to him, and therefore he can do whatever he wants. So just tell me that one pasuk. Don't even get into the pratim of Maaseh Bereshit. He created everything, and okay. Now, yalla, Chodesh Zelchem Rosh Chodeshim. Right? There's no question that this Rashi in this week's Parsha is kind of addressing that, the necessity. Right? Right, the necessity to go through this whole arichut. Right? But let me ask you something about this. This Eretz Yisrael thing. It's Matana Tova from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? It says mamash Yisraeli tipusi. Lech za alai, kach. Shall lech tichvosh ota. Right? Right? The Baruch Shalom's giving us a gift. What type of gift is this? It's a gift. Now go conquer it. Yeah. Right? Eretz Yisrael's diknet bekibush. Right? Right? Eza matana zeh. Right? You have to go and conquer it. Right? And not only that, he first gave it to them. Why did he do that? And so we have to come on to Bereshit because he first gave it to them to explain how we could take it from them and give it to us. So why did he first give it to them? And then if he gave it to us, why is it day kibush? What's it? A gift, some gift. You have to go and conquer it. And we're struggling with this adayom hazeh. So the inyan is like this. Right? Very first word of the Torah, Bereshit. Right? So Rashi says over here, this is not the first Rashi, it's Rashi a little bit further in. Right? Over here we need Medrash Agada. It should say Barishona. Bereshit ze b'shvil hareshit. Right? No, it doesn't mean at first. It doesn't say Barishona. It doesn't mean at first. It means for the sake of the first. B'shvil Yisrael shnikru reshit. B'shvil HaTorah shnikret reshit. Right? The Rebbe Shalom created the Torah created the world rather, for Am Yisrael and for the Torah. And wherever they come from the same shorish. That's the secret, that if a person is by Yitziat HaNeshama, so the Lashon of Chazal is Chayav L'Kro Kesefer Torah Shenisraf. So that Shchaim explains, they come from the same, they're both called Reshit. The Torah and Nishmat Yisrael, they branch off from the same point. Right? So that Nekudah of Reshit is why the Rebbe Shalom created the world. That's the Margalit. That's the Margalit that got lost. How did it get lost? Chet Adam HaRishon. Chet Adam HaRishon, right? That created this whole ta'arovet of Tov and Ra. Like the Nefesh HaChaim explains, Eitz Hadat Tov Ra. Dat is Lashon Chibur. Adam Yadat Chava Ishto means connection. In this tree, it created bilbul, right? Mix up. That good and evil got all mixed up. Right? And, because of all that, confusion, created a lot of problems. Didn't just create problems, in the head of man. That now it's very hard to be omed ala emet, right? To really see the truth, which, gets worse when we don't have nevuah, like we explained. That's why we need all the pilpul as a mishkal neged. And that's what it says in the Zohar, that Torah shebechtav is misitra de etz hachaim, and Torah shebal peh is misitra de etz hadat tovara. We need all the pilpul as a countermeasure because of all the confusion. So we got to double check that we're right, and we got to prove our point, because we have to start with a working assumption that we're confused. Right? But this Ta'arovet Tov and Ra didn't just happen in what we think. It happened in Kol HaOlamot Kulam, right? That before Chet Adam HaRishon, right? There was Tov and Ra. There was, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nothing exists if HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't create it. But the whole mitziut of Ra was Sachakol in the Nachash and in this Etz. That's what it was. Zayakol, right? The Adam, when he put that piece of fruit inside of him, so you got to tell you, the Rambam says not to eat fruit. It's bad for you, right? Hilchot Deot, right? No, he really says that, but I'm not saying,
I'll give you some grapes if you want.
Anyway, he says no, not to drink water during the meal. Right? So we'll have wine during this.
That's
right?
why you're having ara.
That's straight water will kill you. Lo yishte mayim elam kenu mazug biyayin. That's what he says in Hilchot Deot. Like, don't drink water unless you dilute it with wine. You get it? Straight water will kill you. Right? It's a paradox. Hilchot Deot. Take a look. Right? Right. Anyway, this created a trend of tarot that now the Ra that was mibachutz, right, now became bifnim. The Nachash was the Yetzer Ra. He was mibachutz. He was on the outside. Now he's on the inside, right? And he's with you wherever you go. Yeah. Rav Hutner, the Rosh Yeshiva of Chaim Berlin, Baal Pachad Yitzchak, when he was a Bachur in Slobodka. So for a while he was learning without a Chavruta. So Yaltov Slobodka asked him, why are you learning alone? He said, I'm not learning alone. I learn with my Yetzer Hara. So Yaltov said, okay, I'll play your game. Why don't you learn with the Yetzer Tov? Right? 2 reasons. First of all, the Yetzer Hara is much smarter, number 1. Right? And number 2, the Yetzer Hara is kavod. He's always there on time. Yetzer Tov, when you need him, you can't find him. Right? Right? So the Tov and Ra is all inside of us now. And it caused kilkul at the whole bilbo of Tov Ra. So Dat Tov Ra, the Chibur of Tov and Ra, didn't just happen in B'moichin, and in the way we think. The way it happened in the whole Metzias of all the Olamas. So now, the Sefer Torah Rabbi Meir Matzu Katuv, Hashem Okim L'Adam cut not or with an aleph, not the way it's spelled by us in Sefer Torah with an ayin. Vestment of light, right? So it's a remez that's meramez on the madrega of Adam Arishon Kodem Achet, what now is skin or, right? Was originally or with an aleph. In the words of of the Ramchal, the Dat Tfunot, Adam HaRishon's guf was on the level of our neshama now. Right? As Tzeva, and to finish off what he said, Tzeva Chashov Maya Malat Nishmato. Imagine what his neshama must have been. His guf was like our neshama, or with an aleph, right? Right, and it went from or with an aleph to or for an ayin, right? When the Ra became internalized, went from being beings of light. The guf was kulo or, right? And now it's down to or, right? With skin, which could also be read iver. We're blind. We don't see the emet, right? So now here's an amazing thing. It says I believe it's in the Pirush Torah or to the Malas HaTorah, right? Where this guy's cover points out. What's the difference in gematria between or and or? Or with an aleph and or with an ayin?
69.
Excellent, right? 69, right? Okay, so now we say Shabbat Mincha, Mi Kam Chayso Goy Echad Baaretz, right? All right, it's a pasuk. Mi Kam Chayso Goy Echad Baaretz. Atem Afadi Aseh Etchem Chativa Achat Ba'olam, the one nation. Well, it's a United Nation full of these losers, right? Well, one nation. What it means is the one nation that was always meant to be. Because if Adam would have not eaten from Yetzer Da'at, he would have stayed kot not or with an aleph, Uma Achat, just one nation. When he went from or with an aleph to or with an ayin, shivim umot. These guys all came because one guy ate a piece of fruit he shouldn't have. Right? And that's the tremendous bilbul that there is in all the olamot. And from that, all the umot olam come from that. Right? They would have never come into existence if not for Chet Eitz Hadat, because of the Tarovet Tov V'Ra. Right? So now a little bit of our Tov went out, Lachutz, and a lot of Ra came in. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a few minutes. A lot of, right? and that's the Inyan Gadol, the Shamot Gerim, right? Is we're bringing back the Tov that went out to the Ra, B'Chet Et Adam HaRishon, we're bringing them back. We're being Gorer, Gerim, Gorer. We're pulling them back to where they belong. Bringing back those nitzotzot that went out, right? Which is, the tachlit of galut. Gemara says in Yevamot, lo huglu yisrael ben al-umos el kadei shitvasvu aleim gerim, right? One of the things that we're on a mission. We're going to collect the gerim. We're going to go to Uman, collect the gerim. We're gradually restoring things back to where they belong, right? So now you understand the birurim. Rashi said, you're kover, you're sifting through the sand. You're sifting through the sand, right? Right? You're sifting through the sand. We got to go through all these dorot, right? Because there are nitzotzot shel kedusha in these dorot, all right? And we have to sift through them to bring them back, right? And that's why that's why they were put in the Torah, right? For their tikkun. They put their blashon tzara because we don't like them the way they are. But we put them there to embed them in the process of brera. That Avram Avinu is the sum total of Esrim Dorot, the birur of Esrim Dorot, and that's the side. Ba Avram v'natal schar kulam. He's connected all the Esrim Dorot, the Tov of all the Esrim Dorot, filtered to become Avram Avinu. Right? And now, this is the Inyan, this is going to come to a head in Achrit Hayamim, right? That Beikvata de Mashiach Chutzpah Yazge, right? It's going to be hard times, and amongst they talk Chutzpah Yazge, right? The kids will be tough kids, right? For the last 200 years in all the Sfarim, they talk that way. Kayadua, we're living Achrit Hayamim, Chutzpah Yazge. And the next door comes, for 200 years, go out, read this farm. That was nothing. Now this is chutzpah yazge. That was the next door. Now it's chutzpah yazge, right? Right? But it was foretold because all those neshamot that lived, that we talk about in Sefer Bereshit, the Dor HaMabul, the Dor HaFlaga, the Dor of Stone, they all have to have their tikkun. And if not all the nitzotzot were taken out of them at the time, they come back again before Achrit Hayamim to have their tikkun, to get all the pearls out. And that's the sort of the door of Ikvata the Mashiach, right? Because before Mashiach comes, and we're going to fix Chet Adam HaRishon, all the nitzotzot that are scattered in these tough duras, they have to come back one last time to get their tikkun, right? But that's in of kibush Eretz Yisrael, right? Whoever controls Eretz Yisrael controls the world, right? In the United Nations, they only do one thing, when they work, they hardly work. When they work, they pass resolutions against Israel. That's all they do, right? Hashem Yerachim, read all the stuff they do. They are just partying and looking at dirty pictures on our cheshbon. I read an article, But when they work, they pass resolutions, against Israel. That's what preoccupies them, right? So davar nifla mode, right? Whoever controls Eretz Yisrael, which is besod nekudat hamerkaz, controls everything, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to the Umot HaOlam, right? Because of Chet Adam HaRishon. So now, because of Chet Adam HaRishon, what got corrupted? The 7 midot, the 7 major midot that we call Teva, Chesed, Gvur, Tiferet, that's Echad Yesod, Malchut. These 7 midot are the midot that got corrupted, that need birurim. What we call Tikkun HaMidot, right? What's Eretz Yisrael called before Am Yisrael gets it? Eretz Shivat Ha'amim. Eretz Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to them because the Kedusha went out l'chutz. The kibush of Eretz Yisrael is mamash domeh to, in the big picture, on the geopolitical scale, what in the individuals, Ezu Gibor, HaKovesh et Yitzro. Right? That, in ourselves, we have to be metaken our midot and fix all these 7 midot. Globally, cosmically, we have to conquer Eretz Shivat HaAmamin. And when we are machnia them, right, we have been machnia all the ra that there is in the world. That's point center. It's all, all this ra is everywhere, right? But if you're sholet over there, Nekudat Amerikaz, you're machnia, over there, all the 7 amin, all the 7 midot are there, in one place. You break them, you've saved the world. Right? You fixed all the midot that got corrupted because of Chet Adam Rishon. And that's why it has to be b'derech kibush. It's like al derech in the individual. Kovesh et Yitzro. In the big picture, it'd be Kovesh Eretz Yisrael. Right? And that way you fix it. And it comes out that if it's Eretz Shivat HaAmamim, right? So what are we? And what does Eretz Yisrael become? We're the 8th nation. Right? It becomes Eretz Yisrael. Sound familiar? 8. Right? So now, you can understand what Rashi is saying over here. And we'll understand what it has to do with Chanukah. Right? All right. All right. So, as we explained, the Margalit that got lost, that's the Bereshit. Bishul Yisrael, everything's Bishul Yisrael. Everything is Bishul HaTorah. But it got scattered, amongst the Umot Olam. Some Kedusha went Lachutz, and some Tumah came Lifnim, right? And we have to sift. And the whole Sefer Bereshit is all about this, not just the first pasuk. It's the whole tahalich, it's the whole process of sifting through all the umos and all the zmanim, right? To come lidei birur, that we're borer, right? That it's Am Yisrael, Torat Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael. That's what the whole Sefer Bereshit is so vivan. So Sefer Bereshit is the whole, the book that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us for the sake of kibush haaretz, for the sake of kibush haaretz, for the sake of kibush haolam be'etzem. Because whoever rules over Eretz Yisrael rules the whole world, right? If we fix Eretz Yisrael, the whole world's fixed, right? For Kovish over there, right? So because it's ours, we have we'll have siyata d'shmaya do it, but it's the work we have to do, right? So that's the sifting, right? Going through all the doors, but they're all encoded in the Torah to be part of the mahalach of the birurim, right? We're sifting through chol, right? Sand. What does chol also mean? Secular, right? Yemot hachol, right? Secular. Chulin, right? Which is the status quo of the world. Chol, if it's not tameh, right? Right? If it's not chol, right? But the whole world, if Ilulei Chet Adam Rishon wouldn't have been chol, would have been kodesh. Everything would have been kodesh, right? Right? So now, we have to be borah from the olam of chulin, right? And our whole engagement with the chol, right? Chol, it's also the secular world, right? Whether it's our parnasah, whether it's, all our encounters with the outside world, we have to realize we're in a process of birurim, right? That we have to engage with it, we're forced to engage with it, but not that it should take us down, but we should pull out from it the nitzotzot of Kedusha, right? We're being borer b'chol, right? Now, once we pull out all the nitzotzot from the chol, it's not chol anymore. It becomes tzroros. It becomes rocks. Because we took out all the tov, right? Now it's just tsar, right? It's like it's oppression, it's evil. It becomes tzroros, tsar, right? It's narrow, it's oppressive, it's nothing good about it. So that's it. So we're kover through the chol, we do birurim, and once the margalit comes out of the chol itself, loses its shape because we took the tov out of it. It becomes tzrorot. It just has to be thrown away. Nothing good about it. Right? That's the sofa birur. Right? So now, with our fight with the Yevanim, right? And so now these guys, they were number one in chol. Chol is there, like that was, I don't know, I would say it was their middle name, but it doesn't sound very Greek. Right? It's a Chol, profession, culture, science, math, whatever. Of which there's some good things there. This is before, when secular studies, before math was racist and and all that. When people used to really learn something, right? Right. There's some good stuff there. It needs birurim.
Fake news.
What?
When it wasn't fake news.
It wasn't fake news, right? There's good stuff there. There's some good problems. It's mixed in with also shtuyot. I mean, when it was good, there was some good stuff there that was mixed with a lot of shtuyot. Now it's Hashem Yirachim, right? Right, but now but you have to understand that's in a certain way you could take it that we're holding it acharita yamim, that a lot of the good has been removed already. That's why what's out there in the schools, Hashem Yirachim, it's not just the college, it's even the K through 12, what's going on, Hashem Yirachem, right? But you have to take a certain encouraging sign because a lot of the Tov was already removed, right? By the way, this is what it means, the Beramayim Chayim, in his Sefer Shar Tefillah, says, En ben David ba elo bedor shekulo chayav o kulo zakai. You've heard that Chazal. He says, it's not the pshat, right? It's going to be either or, we'll see at the end of time. No. Kulo, there'll be Rishayim, there'll be Tzakim, but it'll be Kulo Chayav, Kulo Zakai. The Birurim will have been finalized by then, that all the Tov will have already been selected and moved to one side, Kulo Zakai, and all the Ra would have been moved to the other side. In Akhirah, it'll be Kulo, because it'll be Sofa Birurim that we moved, so it's Kulo Zakai on one, and the other team is Kulo Chayav. Nothing in the middle anymore. Right? But the Yevanim, when they came on the scene, right? So they were big into their chol, their limudei chol, with their tarbut, the whole thing, culture and all their stuff, all the Hellenistic culture, right? So what they do, amazing thing, they see Am Yisrael and they're very jealous. They don't like that, that we are, we're holier than they are, like the Maral's Marich in Sefer Ner Mitzvah. So what they do, an amazing thing, it's like Chet Adam Rishon all over again. Ufartzu chomot migdalai, they broke in to the Beit HaMikdash, they bring their stuff in there. V'timu kol hashmanim, so the Gemara says that the people in Tekoa were very smart, because they're regilim b'shemen zayit. The shemen is more on chokmah, right? V'timu kol hashmanim. They sort of were making progress in fixing Chet Adam Rishon. And we're making the birurim, and we're taking the tov out of the ra, right? They can't, because then the Yevanim will be out of business, right? They can't have that, right? So they basically are repeating the process of Chet Rishon. They broke into the area, it's called Kodesh. It was Kodesh, right? They broke in, right? And they broke in. And that's interesting. The Rambam in the Mar Nevuchim says, Hitpartzut HaPilosofim, Kapeshem, Hitpartzut Chamura, that they tried to analyze God with their, with their philosophy, and the Ribosh was above, and the Rambam calls it Hitpartzut. Break-in entry, which is what happened with Chet Etzadat. The Ra broke in to the realm of Tov, and that's what they did. They broke in to put the Tzelem Ba'echal, the Timu Kol Hashmanim. They were trying to bring back in full force Chet Adam Rishon. Of course, with that, they were protecting themselves. They wanted to stay in business, right? They knew if we keep on going with our birurim, we're going to drive them out of business, right? That's what they did, right? But then, when we drove them out, right? Not only do we drive them out, but we changed the rules of engagement, right? Before the Yevanim, it's like, hey, don't bother us, we won't bother you. And we do our birurim, lot with our mitzvot. No one's got to know about it, right? We do our mitzvot, and that's of all the mitzvot ma'asiyot is to do mechatz techakal, as Zohar says. We're cutting the field, take what, right? But then they broke in, that's it. When we drove them out, we didn't just leave things the way they were, right? So they wanted to bring their influence to Toch HaKodesh. We reversed the process. And we say, Ner Chanukah mitzvah nichal petach beito mi bachutz. You want it that way? Kasach. All right. It goes this way. Kedusha is going to go and be mashpia outwards. You're not going to come and be metama de heichal. Kedusha now is ner Chanukah petach bein chutz or bachalon asamuch l'reshut harabim. It's going to go the other way around, and we're doubling down on being mashpia lachutz, right? And the Kedusha should go out and make birurim. So here's an amazing thing. Ad shetichle regel min hashuk. So Gemara asks, who's regel? Regel the Talmudai. Right? There's a nation called Talmud, right? Because they were the ones who sold firewood. So they stayed in the shuk a little bit longer. What the Gemara says in Yavamis, right? Noshim betzion inu, pasuk necha. That was Talmud. By Bayit Rishon, when it was all the balagan, right? So the people from Talmud came and they raped Jewish women. And they captured Jewish women. Noshim betzion inu. Which means there's Jewish blood amongst the Talmudaim. And now we're sending ore to them to bring them back, right? You want war? We'll give you war, right? And we're going to now push out and bring the ore of the Kedusha lachutz, right, to the outside world, right? And we're going to go there and, be mayor, lashuk, all these things that the shuk was created because of Chet Adam Rishon. You have a shuk to do business. You only have to do business because of Bezeh Tapecha Toch HaLechem, right? It's all a product of Chet Adam Rishon. Now we're sending out the ore lashuk and down to the Talmudim to bring back all the Margaliot, to bring it back. And that's it. With this, we'll end off that this is the remez in the word chol. Chol. Chet Yemei Chanukah and the Lamed Vav Neirot. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. 36. Thank you very much. L'chaim, l'chaim.